A lot for staying with us on TVC Breakfast. Now to the next leg of our discussion. We bring up, this introduction now where Nigerians continue to demand for improved security in the country. And as this is happening, so are calls for the restructuring of the nation's security structure to include the creation of state police. Now, many in support of this move believe that state governments are better positioned to provide workable solutions to insecurity in their immediate environment. And in view of this stand, the Afenifere and the Pan-Niger Delta Forum advocacy groups have lent not just their support from the socio-political angle to this issue, but now their voices have been added to the 19 northern governors and traditional rulers from that region who met recently and advised National Assembly to remove police from the executive list in the Nigerian constitution. This to clear the grounds for states to establish their own police force, as well as fund them and hold them to account if they failed to safeguard lives and properties. And that's what we're discussing now. We have with us in the studio security consultant and security protection analyst Olufemi Aratokun-Ale. Thank you so much for joining in. It's good to see you again.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you. Welcome.
This latest clamor now coming from northern governors and traditional rulers, how does it enhance the argument from where you stand about the increasing need for state police?
Let's put it this way. I've always been talking about state policing and, states, protecting their own citizens, not from the federal government or from the executive power from Abuja. So if all governors are saying that, look, this is what we want to have, I think in the interest of the citizens, in the interest of Nigerians, we should just listen to what the people are saying. Because those within the executive powers are not really saying what is happening within the local governments. Especially, let's take, for example, Benue State. Look at what is going on in Benue State. Look at what's going on in Ondo State. Look at what's going on in Osun State. So much is going on that they need the approval from the federal government before they can carry out some security duties. However, why saying this? How is the federal government going to react? That, okay, this power is going to be withdrawn from us and it's going to be distributed around the state governors. Then again, we have to look into how are the governors, they themselves, how are they going to police their environment and which constitution are they going to be using? Are they going to start a new security constitution or are they going to change the whole security architecture together and let states decide, design and plan how they want their own security to look like in their own states so that we can have an understanding that the people in Edo State speak their different languages, so they know who and what to put in place. Those in Kano State, they know how they want to govern their own state. It's going to boil down to culture, tradition, religion, and a whole lot of things will definitely set in. But at least a step forward first now. Let's have an agreement. Start looking into how you want to create your own state policing in your country, in your state, in your environment, in your local government, so that we know where the problem is coming from and we know how best to deal and tackle it.
Yeah, Mr. Olufemi, I think for that reason, in August 2020, President Muhammadu Buhari approved 13.3 billion naira for community policing. So what's the difference between community policing and state policing?
Community policing and state policing, they are two different things. When you say community policing, that means you're just giving a bit. You see, when you mention 13 billion, we think it's a whole lot of money. But by the time you divide it, it amounts to nothing when it comes to security. But one thing we need to ask is this. Community policing is just about the community. But state policing is the governor is the one directly given the say.
This was not just for the police. This was just for community policing.
That's what I'm saying. Because when it comes to...
13 billion plus.
Okay, you tell me. Let us take Lagos State as a model. Lagos State as a model. Alimosho local government, how many security community police do you see around there? Or how many, let me say, Lagos State neighborhood safety corps do you see patrolling and engaging with the community? I'm asking you just Lagos State as a model now. Because we have, what's it called here now? We have one thing, we have this neighborhood in Lagos State. We have we are the good boys. What are they called? In Lagos State, we have
OPC?
LASMA. We
You're
have
talking about OPC?
No, not the OPC this time around. We have the vigilantes.
Right.
We have everybody. But have you really seen them engaging with the Nigerian populace in Lagos State? Not to talk of Ogun State, Osun State, Akure, Ondo State, and the rest, and this list goes on.
So you are an advocate for state policing?
Oh, for a long time.
Community policing?
For a long time. I've been advocating for state policing because once you have state policing, community policing falls in place instantly.
So why is the office of the presidency afraid, perhaps, if that's the word, of state policing?
It's all politically motivated.
Because
it's all about politics. And look, I'm not into politics as such.
I was just going to add, Mr. President had rejected the idea in 2020. He had outrightly rejected the idea of state policing. When former President Olusegun Obasanjo was also in power, he had also rejected the
But
call.
we can see the damage it's causing right now.
So even though right now he has changed his position, that's a former president.
Because the damage is too much.
So why is that office perhaps afraid of aligned states control the police force?
Let me ask you this simple question. If you are in full control of me and she just came from somewhere and that, oh, you know what? We want to take the power off you and give it to Femi. That Femi should be in control of those behind him. Are you going to be happy? That's the question. No. Because the federal government controls the commissioners of police, the DIG, the IG, and all of them, including the governors. They choose who wants to go to certain areas.
In spite of the glaring realities?
Yes, the reality is there. How will you ask an Hausa man? How will you ask an Hausa man to come to my own town or what? To govern us? How will he understand our culture? How will he understand? How long will it take him to understand my terrain, my street?
But would the
argument? How many training have they been given?
Will the argument work? Will the argument work better? Because when you look at America, for example, now where of course they have this enshrined, you know, that there is the state policing mechanisms, despite the fact that you can also say that the country is wealthier than many African countries. If we had, you know, a beefed up security force now, would the argument, you know, be stronger on the part of the federal government, noting that the issue of familiarity continues to be a concern for many?
Look,
if we have a police force that is familiar with the terrains, familiar with the politics of the day in their respective states, how will that, you know, assuage worries that, you know, they could be bought, they could also turn out to be an enemy of the people?
Okay, let me say, let's start from here. If we've allowed the normal Nigerian police force, which we all love, we believe in, to do their jobs the way they are meant to do it, no one will be clamoring for state policing by now. But sometimes they want to do their job professionally, but one way or the other, politics will jump into it. One way or the other, somebody from somewhere will say, oh, it's my blah, 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 one thing or the other, let's die with the case. And at the end of the day, no justice, nothing is found. And the next thing is business as usual. We have crippled the Nigerian police force in such a way that right now, only the elites, only those with the cash can have police into their own safety and protection, whereby leaving behind other citizens, leaving behind Nigerians, leaving behind the vulnerables.
Yes, Mr. Olufemi, I also think that the crop of governors we have today will mess state police up. That's what I think.
I'm still coming to that.
Because if you're saying that...
Look, I am still coming to that.
We've faced issues around corruption and all of that. We know what our governors have been doing over the years. We know how they like to be in control and in charge. We know how, even when monies are disbursed for local governments, governors sit on it. We know how salaries are not paid, pensioners are not paid. I believe that the governors will still mess the state police up.
I'm not going to argue this fact with you, because in Nigeria today, the Nigeria we are today, we seem to be power drunk the moment we have this authority with us. That is a fact. Do not let us just brush it aside and say, oh yeah, we want state policing, as if everyone is the same. No, we're not. But the question is, are we going to have a constitution, a policy, that will sit and guide what we want to do. If we want a good Nigeria, we should all build a good Nigeria. If we want a good state policing, we all should work together and make the state policing work better for us.
All right. We thank you very much for staying with us on TVC Breakfast. And we've been speaking on the increasing clamor for state police now. It appeared for a long time that only a section of the country wanted it, especially those in the south. But now, with calls for this move of state police by northern governors and with support by traditional rulers from the northern region, it seems to have gotten a boost now. And we have with us in the studio talking about the issue so far, security consultant Olufemi Aratokun-Ale. Thank you for staying on with us. So you were talking about, the concerns lingering if and when we get to that point of state by state policing. But I wanted to ask earlier whether we should at least get the foundational problems right first before we now allow or tweak the constitution to allow states to determine policing mechanisms. Should we get? I think we should get to that point first before we now bring it. So it should not be like taking the cart before the horse.
Look, I've always, and I'll keep on saying it, let us have a baseline from where we stop. Let us have a foundation completely done, strong, and reliable, that we can build layers of other structures on it. But in Nigeria, I think the reverse has always been the case. Let me give you a typical example of something of such, Amotekun. You remember when Amotekun was about to start, a lot of people kicked against it. Even the presidency kicked against it. But today, they seem to have been embracing it. Now, Amotekun is one part. NSCDC, Civil Defense Corps, is another part. Nigerian Police is another part. Nigerian Army is another part. But the question is, what synergy do they have together to achieve a common goal?
In Ondo State, for example, now we see the Amotekun, arresting, and then they say they hand over to the police. But of course, the governor is still saying there still needs to, improve the ability.
See, this is exactly where we need to have a better constitution that will tell the governor that, look, governor, when anything happens in a certain local government, the local government of that area should at least take care of such. This is where the community policing.
This is the community policing, okay.
Before taking it to the state policing, then if it's a federal issue, then how do they come in? How would they be invited into the state so that they can work together? What we have in Nigeria is we don't have business synergy in anything we do. Everybody want to be in control.
So that will still impact on the state policing.
And this is exactly brings us back again, that if we try to give the governors this power, how would they use it? Would they use it in fairness to govern the states, or would they use it in fairness to their own political ambition? It's another case. So we need to really look for how do we balance it. So I can see where the presidency is coming from, that no, we don't want to do this. But again, this will definitely kind of impact what the states are meant to do quickly. Rather, they were like, okay, the presidency is not around today, blah, blah, blah. Let's have a situation whereby they give order before we can operate. But in this case, how do we balance it?
Why now? And why the northern governors at this time?
Because they are outstretched. Because everybody is glaring right now that Nigerian police can equal the firepower of the criminals we have. Maybe it's been politically motivated, we don't know, except we have a good findings and investigations are done and we tackle the root cause of all this. If we can, trust me, we won't be talking about it. However, I'm not going to rule out Nigerian police force. We have some brilliant officers there, completely brilliant officers. But are they empowered is the question you need to ask. Are they given the full right to let them exercise and deliver what they are meant to do?
Yes.
Remember, sometimes they want to go up, the next thing is they'll push them down. They want to go up, they'll push them down.
So we still have internal forces.
Of course, yes, we have a lot of internal derailing and making sure that things don't work. Don't forget, when we have crises, a lot of people benefit from it.
But let's look at the financial statuses of states of the country. We have wealthier states than others. If we get to that situation where, okay, state by state, devise your own, police mechanisms and all that, won't we still be having the same, security challenges? Okay, Lagos could have it good, on account of its revenue status and generation status. But what about other states that even have worse security challenges? How will they cope?
What made them? Okay, let's calculate it this way. What makes some states worse insecurity, and what makes some states like, you know what? Let's push it. As far back as the new democracy seems to be concerned, 1999, let us work out the maths. Every state has been given some certain security budget votes that they cannot even give account for. Lagos can say, yes, we are doing A, X, Y, Z. But what about other states? How many copters do you see roving around each state? How many copters do they have in their states? Because when you mention America, UK, and rest of the West, let us be sincere to each other. They put a lot of discipline to make it work. But do we put discipline to make things work in terms of security architecture in Nigeria? Our Nigerian police that we see derailing every minute, do you know the real cause of it all? Because no one is actually motivating them. The ones that are now causing problems for the Nigerian police today is because once they finish from the police college, that's the end. No training, no retraining, nothing whatsoever. Now, you're putting lives of people into the hands of the wrong set of police officers to protect lives. Everyone now has got protection team around them. But how well prepared are we when we have state policing? Are we going to follow the same pattern, or are we going to design a different pattern entirely?
So let me ask this question. How many Nigerians joined the police force because they are passionate about insecurity?
Zero.
Because for me, that's the problem.
Zero.
How do you determine that?
I will tell you why. Some days now, a lot of people that do join Nigerian police is down to frustration. It's not because they are passionate. When you want to see passionate people joining the forces, now let us go back to school. Criminology departments, we have them there. We need to rebrain them. We need to tweak them around to let them understand that, look, the future of this country is within this department, it's within you. So let us invest back into school security. Once we invest back into school security, the passion will be there. And what will bring out the passion is from the political leaders. Don't let me call them political leaders, but our politicians leading us must show interest in securing as well. Take, for example, reduce your number of convoys for growth's sake. Don't use your convoy to intimidate road users. Don't use your siren to intimidate road users. Someone like me, if I hear the siren thing, I jump. Take, for example, I'm on the way now, the next thing I jump because of siren. And the way they even drive around, does it really cost for it? Is another thing. So intimidation will not make a lot of people want to join. Yeah. However, frustration will make people want to, like, you know what? If there's something to do, let me go and join police. After all, I go make money there.
Yeah. So let's start emulation. I mean, we like to copy. We copied some we copied some things from the UK. We copied some things from the US. The government will practice and all of that.
Yeah.
But you were just a moment ago trying to paint a picture of how their systems work and how they have markets police, how they have school police, and all of that.
Let me come to that. I have been Femi Aratokun-Ale. I'm a close protection analyst, a close protection officer in UK and worldwide. Fine. I go for training, I go for regular retraining every time. But if you look at our close protection team being given to elites and all the rest, are they close protection trained at all? Yes, we have
current arrangement in Nigeria.
Yes, we have the department, but are all of them from that department joining the elites, to protect them and all the rest? The answer to that is no. You see some set of security forces, they call themselves spy with VIPs. Are they trained to protect VIPs? No. Do they understand it? No. Do they know the route, the recce, the planning and everything?
There's not a general.
So yeah, we just
a general,
we just do
strength
things
like I can
based
protect.
on, we watch things on YouTube and like, oh, this is how it's done. Okay, let's do our own. We don't do things that way. Okay, let us look at schools. Do we have school protection team amongst the police? So when we want to talk about state policing, a lot of structure must be built around it.
You also even mentioned we have transport police as well.
Transport policing, yeah, we have it in London. We have it in so many counties and boroughs as well in UK.
So,
we have transport police and we have market police officers.
So these are specialized.
Specialized, yes.
Specialized
they all go
units.
through certain training. Then the next thing you jump to that department that this is your core area and this is how we want it to do.
I wanted you to quickly, address the issue of trust. How this this regimented, police units, as against the general police units, you have an issue in the market, you call the police. You have an issue in the school, you call the same police, and you can just imagine, they are only human after all. And then how much resources do they even have at their disposal? But while you are having those challenges on the one hand, there's also the perception of the people, regarding police. With the system in place in the UK, for example, how does it enhance, the people's trust and confidence that, we have the police, at our disposal?
Because there's what you call the think tank policy that, when you want to have it, you have these polling ideas that, okay, how do we do this? How do we make it work? By the time you see or understand how things work, you understand that UK has been doing this for over time. They make mistakes. From their mistakes, they try to correct it. And, they involve the member of the public. But here, we do not involve the member of the public in so many decisions we make in terms of security strategy and structure. So this is the two different things we have in Nigeria and other parts of the country.
All right, security consultant and security protection analyst, we thank you very much for speaking with us, Olufemi Aratokun-Ale. Thank you, for always, indeed.
Yeah, thank you. It's my country. I'm here. Yeah.